Welcome to the Center Supervisor Training for Digital Administration of the LSAT or Law School Admissions Test. Please be sure to watch this training in its entirety and submit the quiz. The link for the quiz can be found in your training email. Your training will not be considered complete for payment purposes unless you complete both steps. We recommend that you take notes as you watch this training because you will be presented with a lot of information. Because you are contracted by U Exams, there may be some instructions in the manual that you'll receive which will not apply to you. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us via phone or email. The on-site LSAT administration consists of 5 multiple-choice sections. The timing for these sections in a standard administration will remain the same at 35 minutes per section. There is one scheduled 15-minute break following Section 3 of the exam. If there are any accommodated test takers at your site, they will also take the 5 multiple-choice sections, but the most common accommodation is additional testing time. If test takers are receiving timing accommodations, they would be tested in a separate room from standard test takers. The room supervisor and center supervisor will be made fully aware of any accommodations. Now I'll give you an overview of the roles that make up the site staff for the day of the exam. The Center Supervisor, or CS, is the person running everything at the site on the day of the exam. If staff has any concerns once at the site, this is the person that will provide guidance. If there are any situations outside the norm, especially involving a test taker, that issue must be taken to the Center Supervisor immediately. Room supervisors, or RS, are in charge of the exam room, including reading directions, administering the exam, and documentation of any violations or irregularities, while ensuring that the center supervisor is also made aware of them in a timely manner. The RS is also responsible for ensuring the security of exam materials at all times. Proctors, abbreviated P, are there to assist the RS and CS in any way they're needed. Their main responsibility is to monitor test takers by walking around the room during the exam, escort test takers to the restroom if they must go during a timed section, and monitor test takers in the approved area during the 15-minute break. Other duties include assisting with pre-screening or check-in of test takers and escorting test takers to their assigned testing rooms and seats. There are 2 additional roles that may not be present at every site, but we do want you to be aware of them just in case they apply. Some sites will have a floater room supervisor, or FRS. This person is there to assist the CS throughout the exam administration and may be asked to take over an exam room if necessary for any reason. They are trained as a room supervisor, but are not assigned to a specific exam room. There may be some staff in a proctor position who have been designated as a backup RS or BRS for their site. These individuals are in a proctor position but are trained as room supervisors in case an additional RS is needed on exam day. If any changes are necessary, the CS will make that determination in consultation with U Exams. Before we get into details, I want to give you a few key things to be aware of for the digital LSAT. Test takers will be using a tablet to complete the exam. Each test taker will be assigned a tablet and scratch pad as they enter the exam room. Once a tablet is assigned to a test taker, staff must not touch that active tablet in any way. Each tablet will be connected to a hub, which will be operated by a room supervisor. Each hub can control up to 60 tablets. The center supervisor is responsible for setup of the hubs, including creating a seating chart for each hub. The CS will receive a shipment of USB sticks that contain the exam. These USB sticks must be secured under lock and key until exam day. For large sites, the hubs and tablets will be delivered directly to the exam site. There are 4 different types of materials that will be shipped for the exam administration. 2 of these, the ancillary materials and the test day USB sticks will be shipped directly to the CS prior to exam day. U-Exams will schedule a call with each center supervisor to review and inventory the contents of each package. The ancillary materials should be kept secure, but the test day USB sticks must be stored in a secure location under lock and key until exam day. For most sites, the hub cases and tablet cases will be shipped directly to the testing location. The number of cases sent to each site is determined by how large the test center is and how many testing rooms it will have. Let's take a closer look and familiarize ourselves with the materials a bit more. Here again, you have the 4 types of materials that will be shipped for each digital LSAT administration. You will see some prompts on your training screen, but there's no need to click on anything as we have taken care of that for you. To review, they are the hub cases, tablet cases, ancillary materials, and the test day USB sticks that contain the actual exam. The hub cases contain the laptop that will be the central control system for the actual exam. In addition to the laptop, the hub case will contain a barcode scanner, a mouse, and a router, all of which are already plugged into the laptop and into a power strip. All you need to do is plug the power strip into an outlet. The hub case is similar in size to a typical checked suitcase and has wheels and a handle for easy transportation. The hub case should be kept in a secure location but does not have to be kept under lock and key. Tablets will be shipped in cases that hold up to 30, 20, or 5 devices and come fully charged, although there will be chargers in the cases should you need them. The largest case, which holds up to 30 tablets, is similar in size to a typical checked suitcase. The case that holds up to 20 tablets is similar in size to a typical carry-on suitcase and will have a handle for easy transportation. The smallest case, which holds up to 5 tablets, does not have wheels but is smaller than a typical carry-on suitcase and is light enough to carry. The tablet cases should be kept in a secure area but not necessarily under lock and key. The ancillary materials box contains items like scratch pads, vouchers which we will not be using, post-it notes, supervisor's manuals, and signs. This box is slightly larger than the smallest tablet case. These materials do not need to be kept in a locked area, but should be kept secure. The USB box is about the size of a men's shirt box and can hold up to 18 USB sticks. Generally, each site will use 1 USB stick per hub. The USB sticks require a high level of security, and the center supervisor must keep them in a secured, locked area as they contain the actual exam. Center supervisors will receive materials a few weeks before the administration. The USB sticks will arrive prior to test day, but will be shipped separately and will not arrive with the other equipment. The number of cases sent to each site is determined by how large the test center is and how many testing rooms it will have. For example, if there's a site that could hold up to 100 test takers with 3 testing rooms, it would receive the following equipment: 6 cases of tablets, that's 5 to accommodate the 100 test takers, plus a backup case, 4 hub cases, 1 hub for each testing room plus a backup for the center, 1 USB box that contains 1 USB stick for each testing room, as well as a box of ancillary materials. Keep in mind, the CS may receive more hub cases if there are accommodated test takers who will be testing at the site. There are 7 steps in the exam administration process. They are CS arrival and the initial site check-in, the pre-exam staff meeting, exam room setup, the two-part check-in process consisting of candidate screening followed by assignment of materials and seating, administration of the exam itself, end of test documentation, and finally, packaging and release of materials. We will go through each of these steps in detail. When the center supervisor arrives at the site on exam day, the first thing they must do is call U Exams to notify us of their arrival. We need each CS to stay in communication with us throughout the day. We expect that the rooms will be set up correctly when you arrive, but the CS should check each room to ensure that there are no issues. In a correct room setup, rows and columns of seats should be approximately 5 feet apart. If there's fixed seating, it may be necessary to skip a chair between test takers to ensure proper spacing, and that's perfectly acceptable. The table for each hub should be close enough to an electrical outlet so that the extension cord will be able to reach. Each CS will be provided with signs to be posted in the check-in area. You can see an example of the signs here. You'll notice that one sign focuses on prohibited items, while the other lists what is permitted. Please note these signs must be posted so that test takers can have a visual reminder of prohibited items before they check in. The center supervisor will have received the ancillary materials and USB stick shipments prior to exam day, but will receive the hub cases and tablet cases at the site on the morning of the exam. When the security company delivers the hub and tablet cases, the center supervisor must be sure to count how many of each type of material has been received. If hub and tablet cases have not been received by 1 hour prior to the exam start time, the CS should call U Exams right away to let us know. During the pre-exam staff meeting, it is important to ensure that each staff member is clear on their responsibilities. The CS will distribute the help cards and guidelines for review, assign staff roles, and answer any questions the staff may have. It should also be reiterated to staff members at this time that it is important to let the CS know of any issues at the site immediately, including admission ticket and ID issues or test taker complaints. In addition to room assignments, proctors will also be informed if they will be playing a role in checking in test takers. At least one staff member will be assigned by the center supervisor to remind test takers of the policies prohibiting electronic items and the use of restrooms after check-in. This is also the point of the day when room supervisors should receive their room supervisor's manual. There are a few reminders that will be given to room supervisors at this time as well. RSs will be responsible for the security of the test materials until they return them to the CS at the conclusion of testing. This includes remaining in the exam room with the materials during the break to ensure there is no unauthorized access while proctors are monitoring the test takers in the prescribed break area. It is also important to define the break area for each test room so that the room supervisor can announce this information to test takers when prompted in the script just prior to the break. Also, do not make any announcements of how much time remains in a section, as this information is now on each tablet screen, and test takers will automatically receive a 5-minute remaining warning on their tablet at the appropriate time. Staff should be reminded at this point that their electronic devices must be turned off while they're on site. Cell phones especially must be powered completely off to avoid disturbances during the exam. Phones cannot be left on vibrate, as even vibration can cause a disturbance, and occurrences such as weather alerts or amber alerts can still cause the phone to make sound. Once the meeting has concluded, exam room setup can begin. Preparing the testing room prior to check-in is a crucial step in setting up the testing center for a successful administration. It's important to ensure that your equipment is working and the physical space is set up in an organized way that is easy to navigate. Now we will walk through the processes that are necessary to prepare your testing room for the exam administration. The equipment that administers the test in each room is called the hub. Each hub can administer the LSAT to a maximum of 60 tablets. The hub comes pre-assembled with a laptop, scanner, router, mouse, and a power strip. It also comes with gaffer's tape that you'll use to safely secure any wires to the floor. The only thing you need to do is plug it into an outlet. The hub comes with its own built-in Wi-Fi connection, so there's no need to worry about connecting to a network. Once the hub case is on top of the table, you can open it up. You will see two sets of handles. One set will be blue and the other set red. You should use both sets of handles to lift the foam trays out of the case and set it on the table. Once you place those trays on the table, you'll notice that a side flap will fold down on the left side. This flap contains the router and gaffer's tape. Next, take the blue handles and lift the top laptop tray up and place it in front of the bottom red tray. Now you'll be able to see the top blue tray holds the laptop and the bottom red tray contains the scanner, mouse, and power strip. At this time, you can take the scanner and mouse out of the bottom tray and place them next to the laptop. You should also take the power strip out and plug it into an outlet. Once the hub is plugged into an outlet, you should use the gaffer's tape to secure any loose cords to the floor. You can now open up the laptop and turn it on. Lastly, insert the test day USB stick into the open port on the laptop and follow the instructions that appear on your screen. As I mentioned a bit earlier, each hub can administer the LSAT for up to 60 tablets. This means that if you have a larger testing room that can accommodate more than 60 test takers, you will need 2 or more hubs and 1 room supervisor per hub. You'll need to create a virtual room, meaning you need to plan which seats will be associated with which hub, and you'll need to create 2 separate seating charts, one on each hub, as if they were separate testing rooms. Each room supervisor, or in this case hub operator, will conduct their own check-in to assign test takers to the tablet connected to their hub. When it's time to start the timed sections, the hub operators will need to coordinate with one another to ensure that they start each section together as if they were one unit. As an example, if your testing room can accommodate 100 test takers, let's say you divide the room into a 50-50 split. The first 50 test takers to check in would be assigned to tablets that are linked to Hub 1, and the second 50 test takers would be assigned to tablets that are linked to Hub 2. The center supervisor will let the staff know who will be the lead RS. This person will read the testing instructions for the entire testing room so that 2 people are not talking at once. When it comes time to click Start on the hubs, all operators need to be in sync so that all tablets are running at the same time. Although only one person can be reading the script at any given time, the room supervisors should all be prepared to take on this role if necessary. It is important not to turn on any tablets until your router has fully booted up. This will be indicated by a consistent white ring on the top of the unit. It can take up to 10 minutes for the router to complete the booting process, but please do not disconnect it. The cursor on the hub screen will spin to indicate that the router is attempting to connect. Once you have connected a tablet to the correct router, you can return the tablet to the tablet case until you're ready to issue that tablet. But if you have tablets stacked in preparation for distribution, do not stack them more than 5 high to avoid damage. You must have the tablets turned on and connected to the hub before you begin checking in test takers so that they are ready to issue. Now that you've learned how to physically set up your testing room and the hub, let's take a look at the Test Day app, or TDA. The TDA is like a step-by-step guide that takes you through the test from start to finish once the test takers start to enter the testing room. The TDA will only allow you to access one tile at a time and in sequential order, so you won't have to worry about accidentally jumping ahead. I'll first give you a quick overview, and we will walk through the specific details and functions of each tile as we progress through this training. The seating chart is the first tile in the TDA. In most cases, the center supervisor will create or assign a seating chart to match each test room. Once the seating chart is set up, check-in will highlight, indicating that you are ready to move on to the second tile to check in test takers and assign them materials and a seat. The third tile in the TDA is to have test takers verify their data. The fourth tile begins the actual test. Next up is the test taker checkout process, the fifth tile. And on the sixth and last tile in the TDA are the end of test screens that will walk you through the final administrative process to complete the exam. The first tile in the Test Day app is the seating chart. As you see, it will be highlighted to indicate it is available. Let's look at the different types of seating charts, how to create one, and the features available in this tile. Once you click on the seating chart tile, you'll be prompted to select your room type. There are options of standard or accommodated. Both are set up the same way. However, if you're building an accommodated room, you will only be able to check in accommodated test takers. Likewise, if you set up a standard room, you will not be able to check in a test taker with timing accommodations. Once you know what type of room you'll be setting up, select the appropriate room type option. You will then be prompted to either build your own seating chart or choose from a template. The template option would be for a seating chart that was previously created and saved, but we will not be using this option since seating arrangements change frequently. Since you're setting up a fresh seating chart for your room, you will want to select the Build Your Own option. To create a new seating chart once you've selected Build Your Own, you'll need to select a seating type. You'll have the option of straight seating or tiered seating. Please always choose the straight seating option regardless of room layout, as this will give you more control over the arrangement of seats. Next, select the number of rows and columns that your room has. Based on the number of seats you have in your room, select the appropriate number of rows and columns to define your seating chart. Always use the number of seats in your longest row as you make further adjustments in just a moment. Then you want to click on Build Room to create your seating chart. You'll see the virtual desks appear on the right side of your hub screen. At the bottom of the chart, you'll see the stats of your room: total number of seats, total available, total unavailable, and the number of seats that are unusable. You may be wondering what unavailable seats and unusable seats are, so let's take a moment to discuss the differences. A seat may be marked unavailable for a variety of reasons, like if you don't want to have any test taker assigned there, or if you simply want to block it off because it's too close to an environment distraction, for example, a noisy heater. To make a seat unavailable, simply click on the seat one time. The image will then be grayed out and an X will be placed over the seat. The laptop will know not to automatically assign a test taker to this seat. However, later in the test, you may still move a test taker there should the need arise. Unusable seats are different. Let's say you have a desk that's broken or there's a pillar in the middle of a room. You'll want to mark those desks as unusable because they do not exist. To make seats unusable, click on the unusable seat until it blacks out. If you want to make an entire row or column unavailable or unusable, click on the corresponding letter or number to cycle through the different states, including making it available again. Once you have your seating chart set up to reflect your testing room, click the Next button to continue. You will be asked if you'd like to save your seating chart template for future administrations of the LSAT. Please select No to not save the template, as seating arrangements will often change from one administration to the next. Now that your seating chart is created, you'll want to physically label your seats so that they match what's on the laptop. This will simplify escorting your test takers to their assigned seat. Look at the seating chart on the right side of your laptop screen. You have letters on the left side and numbers across the top. Underneath each individual seat, you'll see a letter and number combination. Write these seat assignments on individual Post-it notes and then place the Post-it notes on each seat so that it matches up with your seating chart. Now when a proctor escorts or directs a test taker to seat C3, they will know exactly where to go. If your testing room will hold more than 60 test takers, you will need more than one hub. The center supervisor, in communication with U-Exams, will need to determine how the room is to be split, whether that's 50-50, 60-40, or some other configuration that works for that particular room. The seating chart on each hub will be created for only that hub's portion of the room. When it comes time to label the seats, use two different colored Post-it notes to help identify the virtual rooms you've set up. Let's briefly review the steps in creating a seating chart. First, you select your room type, standard or accommodated. Remember, accommodated test takers will not be accepted into a standard room seating chart. Next, you'll select Build Your Own, as you want to create a fresh seating chart for your room to ensure accuracy. You're always going to select Straight Seating as your seating type, and then select the number of rows and columns that you'll need to accurately show seating for your exam room. Once you've completed that step, mark any seats that may be unavailable by clicking on it one time, or make seats unusable if they're broken or just don't exist by double-clicking. Click Next to complete your seating chart, and then do not save your seating chart as a template. Always create multiple seats, even if there's only one test taker assigned to the room, so that their seat can be moved if necessary during the exam without issue, and the TDA will be able to automatically record that move. You will be provided with a stylus for each tablet. When proctors are placing the Post-its to label the seats, one stylus should also be placed at each labeled seat. Pre-screening for digital LSAT is very much the same as it was for the traditional paper and pencil exam. Test takers will be lined up, and proctors will go through the line as a first set of eyes, greeting examinees and making announcements that ensure they are prepared for check-in by the time they reach the check-in table. At least one proctor must be reiterating the rules regarding electronic devices and other prohibited items, Ziploc bags, bathroom use, and what items test takers should have ready for the check-in table repeatedly, as new people will continuously be added to the line. Hoods and hats may not be worn on the head in the exam area during testing or breaks. If you have a test taker who's wearing a top with a hood, have them tuck the hood into the back of the shirt or jacket. This will prevent them from hiding or accessing any hidden materials and from placing the hood on their head while they're in the testing area. Reiterate that absolutely no electronic items are allowed and encourage test takers to use the restroom prior to check-in. Remind them that there will be no restroom use after check-in until the timing for Section 1 of the exam has begun. Remind test takers to have their ID and admission ticket ready when they get to the check-in table. Once test takers are checked in, they must be reminded that they are to go directly to their assigned exam room. Note that beverages are only allowed if they are in a plastic container or juice box, and that all items must fit in the Ziploc bag. Beverages in other types of containers like aluminum cans and glass containers are prohibited. Other items such as earplugs, sunglasses, or even a case for glasses are not allowed. Each examinee may bring a clear gallon-sized Ziploc bag with them into the testing room. All of the items you see here are allowable items. Certain items may be taken out and placed on their desk during the exam, but others may not. The items allowed on the desk include their ID, tissues, analog watch, pencil sharpener, wooden pencils, eraser, highlighters, and the LSAT provided stylus. The other items are allowed to be in the Ziploc bag but must not be accessed during the exam. The Ziploc bag will be placed under their desk while they're testing until break time. The Ziploc bag cannot be larger than a gallon size and must be clear. They are only allowed one drink bottle in that bag, and the bag must close with all the items inside. If they need to access it for any reason before or after the break, the test taker must raise their hand and let a proctor know. It is not uncommon for a candidate to think that they can drink water during the exam, but it is important to let them know that items may not be accessed. Keep in mind that test takers with accommodations may be allowed additional items. Please handle these situations discreetly. If there's any question as to what is allowed or not allowed in the bags, that is an example of an issue that should be referred by a proctor to the resolution table for the center supervisor to look into further. Much of the information about what is allowed in the bag can be found in the manual, but there can be situations where test takers insist that they be allowed to bring items that are not specifically mentioned as either allowed or prohibited. In those situations, you should call U Exams for further guidance. There are some items that are no tolerance items, which means that test takers are immediately dismissed from the exam should they be found with them in their possession after they officially check in. Although the list includes several specific examples, such as digital timers or watches, cell phone, and fitness tracking devices, all electronic devices fall into this category. It is very important to ensure that announcements are made during pre-screening that test takers cannot have these items, and for proctors and room supervisors to keep a close eye out for these items at all times to maintain test security. The prohibited non-electronic items include things such as mechanical pencils, ink pens, and hoods. It is important to remember that this list is in your manual and only gives a sample of prohibited items. Please note that medical products, such as diabetic testing supplies, are allowable items. There is a list of allowable items in your manual as well, and you should review that prior to exam day. The center supervisor should call U Exams for guidance if a test taker insists that they be allowed to have anything outside of the items on the allowable item list. Please note that some test takers may be granted accommodations that allow them to have items that are specifically listed as prohibited. In these cases, those items should only be allowed exactly as specified on the accommodation letter. If you need any guidance in interpreting accommodations, please call U Exams immediately. Remember that we are trying to create an environment where the test takers have a positive experience. Customer service is important, and every interaction with test takers should be approached with that in mind. Discretion is imperative when interacting with test takers. Accommodated test takers will be in the same check-in line with standard test takers, and under no circumstances should their accommodations be discussed openly. The digital LSAT has a two-step check-in process, eliminating opportunities for error. The digital LSAT also makes check-in more efficient by automatically assigning seats randomly and having one tablet and scratch pad tied to each test taker. The first step of the check-in process takes place outside the testing room and is the initial screening of test takers, while the assignment of materials and seats to test takers happens inside the test room during the second step in check-in. The amount of staff needed for a quick and efficient first step of check-in will depend on the size of your test center, but it is important that certain roles are filled. We'll talk about the different positions to learn more about their responsibilities. The center supervisor is responsible for receiving test material shipments and for resolving any issues that arise on exam day. The pre-screening announcer will circulate through the area where test takers are lined up for check-in, making pre-test announcements and watching for prohibited items. The check-in table screener will check Ziploc bags, IDs, and admission tickets, check the test taker in, and then direct them as to where they should go. In step 1 of the check-in process, the pre-screening announcer should make announcements about prohibited items and the restroom policy and direct test takers into the line for check-in table, where a staff member will begin checking them in. At this point, the check-in table screener will check each of the test takers' IDs to ensure that it's government issued with a name, date of birth, and photo. It must be current or expired within 90 days. Student IDs cannot be accepted. Next, the screener will examine the test taker's admission ticket. The date on the ticket must match the date of the test to be admitted. The photo must be different than their ID photo and should look like the person standing in front of them. The first and last name should match exactly what's on the ID. Once the admission ticket has been checked, have the test taker sign and date. If it's already signed, instruct the test taker to cross out that signature and re-sign. In step 2 of the check-in process, the room supervisor, who's also referred to as a hub operator, will first scan the test taker's admission ticket and then hand it back to the test taker. Scanning the admission ticket pulls up the test taker's data, including photo, onto the laptop. Next, scan a tablet and a scratch pad. These two items are now electronically tied to the test taker and a seat is automatically assigned. Hand the tablet and scratch pad to the test taker and direct them to their seat, which is now visible on their tablet screen to the left of their photograph, or you can have a proctor escort them to their seat. If a question or issue arises with any test taker at any time during check-in, please remember to not hold up the line. Send the test taker to the resolution area where the center supervisor is, and if necessary, the center supervisor will call the Day of Test Digital LSAT helpline, which is listed on the inside cover of the supervisor's manual. Once all test takers are seated and you close the physical check-in area, select Next in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen on the hub. After this point, you may not admit any more test takers into the testing room. Once this tile is complete, you will not be able to go back to adjust the seating chart or check any additional candidates in. Now we'll take you through the test taker interface so you have a better understanding of what the test takers will experience. First, we'll take a tour of the data verification tile. Next, we'll walk through the multiple choice sections to learn about the basic functions and tools available to test takers. Lastly, we'll talk about what to do if a test taker's tablet stops working so that you'll know how to solve the issue quickly and efficiently. Prior to the actual timed sections of the exam beginning, the test takers will need to answer a quick question and agree to the certifying statement in the data verification tile of the TDA. At this time, the test takers will also watch a brief tutorial and select their screen preferences, such as font size, color correction, line spacing, and screen brightness. They'll also be able to adjust their preferences during the multiple choice sections if necessary. The digital LSAT will be comprised of 5 35-minute sections. Each section will be initiated and managed by the hub and the room supervisor. After the section begins, the test takers will see the passage on the left side of the screen and the question with multiple choice options on the right side. They simply select the letter they see fit and can eliminate options by selecting the crossed out letters on the far right side or flag a question as a reminder to come back if time permits. They'll use the arrows at the bottom right of the screen or the question numbers across the bottom to navigate between questions. At the top of the screen, the test taker will have several tools available to them. That includes underline, 3 options of highlighter color, and the eraser tool. The test taker should click on the tool they'd like to use and then use their finger or stylus to drag across the words they would like to highlight or underline and tap that tool again to turn it off. The other features that create a smoother test experience are that the tablet shows the time remaining in the top right corner. If the test taker would like to turn this feature off, they'll tap on the box, and the remaining time will no longer be displayed. To turn it back on, they just tap again. Second, when 5 minutes are remaining, a notification will appear in the middle of the screen, regardless of whether the countdown is turned off or not. Once the box appears, the test taker will need to tap on the close button to exit out of the notification. For this reason, there is no longer any need to make a 5-minute remaining announcement. Now that we've talked about what test takers see on their tablet screens, let's discuss what you should do if a tablet stops working or if it's running low on its battery. The hub will show you the status of every tablet connected to it. So in addition to the test taker raising their hand to let you know there's an issue, the hub will let you know. If a battery is running low or if there's a malfunction with the tablet, the color next to the test taker's picture will turn red. The easiest and quickest way to solve either of these issues is to swap out the tablet. To swap out a tablet, you should hover over the test taker's picture on your seating chart and click Add Incident. Select the Defective/Materials Replacement option, and then in the drop-down menu, select the Tablet option. Lastly, you'll need to enter a brief description. You'll then be prompted to scan the QR code on the back of the new tablet. Once scanned, the test taker's profile and all their test answers and data up to that point will be switched over to their new tablet, and they can continue working exactly where they left off. They will not lose testing time for equipment malfunctions, so their tablet will resume counting down the time once they're connected again. Now that you've seen an overview of the test taker interface and how they will navigate through the test sections, let's learn about the fourth tile of the TDA, the multiple choice sections, and how they will flow. It's important that the room supervisor always read the instructions out loud before initiating any section of the test. The scripts can be found in the room supervisor's manual and must be read word for word so that each test taker has the same experience regardless of what center they are testing at. Once the first set of instructions have been read and you're prompted to do so, each RS will click Start in the TDA. This will automatically initiate the first section on every tablet that's connected to it. Select the Start button to initiate the section. Throughout the test, you'll be able to monitor the status of each test taker's tablet from the TDA by looking at the indicator color to the left of their seat. The colors should all be green prior to starting the section, indicating that they're ready. Once started, each color should change to blue to indicate that they're in progress. During each section, the time will be displayed in the top right-hand corner of each tablet so the test takers can see how much time they have remaining. A 5-minute warning will automatically appear on the tablets at the appropriate time, so there's no need for the RS to make a 5 minutes remaining announcement. At the end of the section, the indicator color to the left of the seats in the TDA will change back to green to confirm that they're no longer working in a section. After the conclusion of the first section, the RS will read the next set of instructions and promptly begin the next section by following the same procedure. You'll continue to repeat these steps until all 5 sections and 1 break are completed. The break occurs after Section 3 is complete and must be initiated in the same way each section is. First, the RS will read the scripted instructions about the break, which will tell the test takers to place their scratch pad on top of their tablets and take their ID and Ziploc bags with them as they leave the testing room. Then, the test takers will be told exactly where the break area is, as well as the restrooms, so that there's no confusion on where they can and cannot go. After reading the instructions, the RS will click Start and then dismiss the test takers from the testing room. You must click Start to initiate the break. The break will last 15 minutes and the hub will keep track of the time for you. Now that we've covered the flow of the test, we'll discuss what the RSs and proctors will be doing while the test takers are working on the designated sections of the exam. You should be continuously walking around the room, monitoring the test takers to ensure that they're following the proper procedures and keeping an eye out for suspicious or disruptive behaviors. Should an incident occur, promptly but quietly address the test taker in a professional manner to stop the incident from continuing. The RS must immediately make a note of the incident in the TDA by hovering over the test taker's picture and clicking on Add Incident. When an incident is added, you'll first be asked to identify the incident group. There are 7 options to choose from, like a complaint, defective materials replacement, an unscheduled bathroom break, violations, and more. Depending on which incident group you select, you may be prompted to select the incident type and then the incident subtype. If at any time you need to move a test taker's seat, simply click on their picture on the seating chart and drag it to an open seat. Once the test taker has been moved, make a note of the move by adding a new incident. Now it's time for a recap. Before starting a section, read the instructions word for word. Each section will be 35 minutes long in a standard room, and the test takers will receive an automated 5-minute warning. You can record notes about any incident that may occur by hovering over the test taker's picture and clicking Add Incident. You can also move a test taker's seat if needed, and an open seat is available, by clicking on their picture and dragging it to an open seat. Please remember that rather than proceeding through tiles as they become available on the hub, you must follow the directions in the supervisor's manual. Important information and procedures are noted in the room supervisor's manual that will not appear on the laptop screen. The manual is still what guides the exam day process. Once all test takers have been escorted to rooms and the staff are beginning to administer the exam, the CS should be in a location where they can be found easily by staff to be notified of any issues. There are several administrative tasks the CS must complete during testing, but every center supervisor must remain on site and available for contact by U-exams and available to their staff on site. During the exam, you must compile the information from the separate rosters used by proctors at check-in for the standard portion of your site onto the yellow final roster. The final count of all standard test takers marked present on the yellow or final roster must match the number of admission tickets collected in total from all standard rooms at your site. Check this number with each standard room supervisor without disturbing the testing room. If there is a discrepancy, you can compare the names on the admission tickets collected to those marked present on the roster. Contact U Exams immediately if there are any violations or irregularities. Monitor testing rooms to ensure that exam materials are never left unattended and that any staffed questions are answered promptly. Also keep notes on staff performance and conduct. You will be asked for this information in the days following the exam. There are a few additional pieces of information that you'll need to know while you're in the exam room. As I mentioned earlier, staff is not to touch an active tablet in any way. The tablet is considered active anytime a test taker is not between sections, paused by the hub, or on a break. This means that staff is not allowed to physically assist a test taker in adjusting tablet settings. This is important to avoid any accidental entries and possible irregularities. When proctors are prompted by the script to collect test takers' admission tickets prior to the verified data tile, it is important to verify that each has an accurately completed certifying statement. Certifying statements must be completed before the start of the test. The manual does provide guidance as to how to handle a test taker who is refusing to agree to the certifying statement. Each tablet will have its own kickstand on the back that test takers are allowed to use. If the test taker chooses to use the kickstand, it must be folded all the way upward, putting the tablet at the lowest possible angle to avoid their screen being visible to other test takers. Once the first section of the test has started, the room supervisor and proctor should turn off most of the extra tablets, leaving just a few on in case of malfunction. Remember, tablets cannot be assigned to a test taker if the battery level is below 80%. I want to take a few moments and discuss a few specific incidents we want to be sure you know how to handle. Test takers may not leave the testing room without your permission, nor may they take a bathroom break until after Section 1 has begun. If a test taker needs to use the restroom during a section, they must request permission to do so. Have the test taker close their scratch paper booklet and leave it on top of their tablet at their seat. The room supervisor must collect the candidate's ID and add an incident to the TDA from the drop-down. You'll choose Unscheduled Bathroom Break. A proctor should then escort the candidate to the bathroom and subsequently back to the exam room. The TDA will record what time the test taker goes to the bathroom, and there's no need to record what time they come back. The test taker will not receive additional testing time for any bathroom break, and the timer on their tablet will continue to count down. When the candidate returns to the testing room, the room supervisor must check the candidate's ID against their physical appearance and return the candidate's ID to them. The proctor should then escort the candidate back to their assigned seat and allow them to resume testing. If a test taker is found in possession of a prohibited electronic device after check-in, they must be dismissed immediately. A proctor should collect the test taker's materials and take them to the room supervisor at the front of the room. The room supervisor should dismiss the test taker and add an incident in the TDA. From the drop-downs, the room supervisor should select Violation, Prohibited Item, Electronic, and then select the type of device. Follow the prompts to scan the test taker's materials for checkout and provide brief details. Of course, you would need to let your center supervisor know immediately of this dismissal. If a test taker wishes to end their exam early, the room supervisor will create an incident by clicking on that test taker's name and choosing Early Checkout. The hub will then prompt the RS to check out the test taker by scanning their materials. A group incident is automatically created each time the RS pauses the exam from the hub. The RS cannot manually create a group incident during the exam, but will be able to create additional group incidents at the end of the exam. For this reason, the RS must make a note of any group incidents right away so that information will be available when the incident can be added to the TDA. This note should include the start and end time of the incident according to the clock, the test section that's affected, and a description of the incident. Now you've seen how the multiple choice sections of the test flow and how to log any incidents that may occur. But what are you supposed to do once the physical test taking has concluded? The next topic we'll discuss is how to check out the test takers. Please note it is extremely important that all materials are collected before any test taker leaves the testing room. Once the multiple choice sections of the test are complete, the checkout tile will highlight in the TDA and can be selected to check out the test takers. The RS will select this tile to open it up. Once in this tile, you'll see that your TDA screen's appearance will be like the check-in screen, where there's a checklist in the top left and a seating chart on the right. To avoid a confusing checkout process, you'll want to ensure that you have an organized way of checking the test takers out. It's important that you have the test takers keep their tablet and scratch pad in their possession until you can scan them as being returned. For this reason, we recommend calling up one row at a time and asking them to form a single file line in the direction of your choosing. The RS will start by scanning a test taker's tablet, which will bring up their picture on the TDA screen as well as a green check mark next to tablet received. Next, scan their scratch pad. If you happen to scan a scratch pad that was not assigned to that test taker, you'll receive an error message. So be careful and scan one test taker's set of materials at a time. Once a test taker has been checked out, ask them to return to their seat. You'll notice on your hub screen that the test taker's status color will change from red to green, indicating that checkout is complete for that person. Once all test taker materials are collected and scanned, meaning everyone's status color is green, the RS must read the end of test instructions in the manual to dismiss the test takers. Once the test takers have left the room, the RS will click Next in the TDA to return to the kiosk screen and complete the documentation process. Let's do a quick review of the checkout process. First, call the test takers up one row at a time. Next, check out one candidate at a time to ensure the correct materials are being collected by scanning their tablet and scratch pad. Then once all the materials have been collected, the RS will read the end of test instructions in the manual. Finally, the test takers can be dismissed. We've talked about how to log incidents as they come up and how to record brief notes that you would elaborate on once all the test takers have been dismissed. Now we'll talk about how to finalize those incident logs, as well as how to report on the physical conditions of your testing room. The last tile in the TDA is known as the end of test. Please note that once you enter this final section, you'll not be permitted to return to the kiosk screen. Here, the RS will be prompted to review and add details to the candidate and group incidents that may have occurred during the test. The RS will select the end of test tile to open it up. Once in the last tile of the TDA, the first screen the RS will see relates to any candidate-specific incidents that may have happened during the test administration. Depending on the incident types that were logged, additional information may have to be added before proceeding to the next report. To do so, click on the paper and pencil icon in the top right corner of each incident and enter any additional information that's needed. As mentioned previously, it is important that the RS log every incident as it occurs. If an incident was not added during the test, it can be added now by simply clicking on the orange Add Incident button in the top left-hand corner of the hub screen. The RS will need to provide the necessary details, including the start and end time of the incident and in what section the incident occurred. The second screen shows any group incidents that occurred during the test. Group incidents can range from a power outage to a marching band passing outside the test room. Anytime the test is paused from the hub screen, it will be recorded as a group incident, and the RS will need to add specifics as to why the test was paused in this screen. Just like with individual incidents, click on the paper and pencil icon to complete the required fields for each group incident before you can move on to the next report. The third reporting screen is where the RS will log what the test room conditions were. There are questions about the lighting, noise level, ventilation, and temperature inside the testing room. The RS will need to provide a brief description for any poor rating that's given. The fourth screen begins the process where the test center supervisor reviews the information the RS has entered. When the center supervisor reaches this point, they must call you exams before proceeding so that we can review all the incidents for each testing room along with them. It is important that the CS does not continue past this point without calling you exams, as this information will be unavailable once the hub automatically shuts down. The supervisor has additional comments for any incident. They will add them at this time by clicking the paper and pencil icon for each incident. Once the test taker incidents have been reviewed, the center supervisor will click Next to review the group incidents, and then again to review the room conditions. Once all incidents have been logged and reviewed, the center supervisor must sign off on the last screen to indicate that they have reviewed all incidents and that they agree with the room supervisor's reporting. After they click Next, the TDA will begin to clear the laptop of any information and begin the shutdown process. When this is completed, the laptop will power off automatically. Let's review the end of test screens. First, you'll complete the details of any candidate incidents that may have occurred. Second, you'll finalize any group incidents that have been recorded. Third, you'll give a brief review of the testing room's conditions. Fourth, the center supervisor will review all incidents before signing off. Once these final steps have been completed, the hub will shut down and you'll be ready to pack up. You've now learned about the end of test screens and how to properly log incidents. The next thing we'll talk about is what equipment will need to be returned to the Law School Admissions Council and how to pack it up. Let's take a look at how each type of case should be prepared for shipment. To pack up the hub case, you'll need to place everything back into the spots in which they arrived. First, remove any gaffer's tape from the cords that you may have taped down to the floor and throw it away in the trash. Be sure to place the unused gaffer's tape back into the side flap next to the router. Second, unplug the power strip from the wall outlet and place it into the left section of the bottom tray. Third, place the scanner and mouse back into the remaining open space of the bottom tray. Fourth, take the top tray, which contains the powered-off laptop, and place it on top of the bottom tray. Fifth, take both sets of handles, the blue top layer handles and the bottom red tray handles, and place the entire foam insert into the gray travel case. It's important to make sure that both sets of straps are accessible and not tucked into the case, as the lid will not close securely. Now you can close the lid down, secure the latches, and use the provided zip ties to secure the case in 2 spots, one on either side. Lastly, you'll remove the old shipping tag and replace it with the return shipping tag. You'll place the test day USB sticks into the individual holders, 3 USB sticks per case, so that each one has its own spot. Place each USB case into the box and close up the flaps. Please make sure that you have reversed the flap with the shipping label on it so that the return shipping label marked with an RS at the top is now on the outside of the box. We recommend placing the tablets back into the cases so that the QR code on the back of the tablet is facing out and at the top. If you have multiple cases of tablets, it does not matter which case you put the tablets into, as long as they are in their own individual slot. Once the tablets are in the case, close it and secure the latches. Then you'll use the provided blue zip ties to secure the case in 2 spots, one on either side. Lastly, remove the old shipping tag and replace it with the return shipping tag. Now everything is ready for shipment. The CS will need to package a few additional materials to ensure that they are returned as well. U-Exams will assist with this via phone. The ancillary box that was shipped to the center supervisor will also be used to return materials to LSAC. All the signed admission tickets will go into the white Tyvek envelope that was received with the rest of the ancillary materials. We will help you complete the necessary information on the front of that envelope and then set it to the side, as it must be the last item to go into the box. Any ancillary materials that were originally received in this box will be shipped back to LSAC in this box. All the scratch paper booklets, both used and unused, should be placed into the ancillary box for return as well. The last item to be placed into this box will be the white Tyvek containing all the signed admission tickets for the site. This envelope must be placed on top of the scratch paper booklets. Once all ancillary materials are packaged, the CS will refold the flaps on the box so that the return shipping label with LSAC's address and the letters RS show on the top flap. The open edges of the box should then be secured with paper back tape as shown. To ensure that we have complete tracking information for all materials, we need the center supervisor to send us several photos. These photos must be taken with a cell phone and verified by us before the security firm is allowed to leave with packages. We will need a clear photo of each shipping label and package that has been prepared for shipment at each site. This will include the shipping labels for each of the hub cases, each of the tablet cases, and the ancillary materials box. We will also need a photo of the completed security letter, including a signature from the security firm personnel, to acknowledge that they are picking up the materials. Be sure that the number of packages is noted correctly on the security letter and that the security letter stays in the center supervisor's possession. For example, 2 hub cases, 2 tablet cases, and 1 ancillary box should be shown as 5 packages total. All photos should be sent to photos@U-Exams for verification. U-Exams will contact you to let you know that your photos have been received, but the security personnel must not be allowed to leave with packages until we have confirmed that you can release the materials. Once all test materials have been packaged and we have verified that we've received the necessary package photos, the ancillary materials box, hub cases, and tablet cases will be picked up by the security company. The test day USB stick boxes must stay in the center supervisor's possession and not be sent with the security personnel. The CS will also hold on to the security letter. Once the security person arrives, the security letter must be completed, including the security personnel's signature and a photo of it sent to photos@uexams.com. You must receive verification from U-Exams that the picture has been received before you can allow them to leave with the packages. Again, please be sure that the security letter and any boxes that contain test day USB sticks remain in the center supervisor's possession. The center supervisor must then drop the boxes containing the test day USB sticks at a UPS location as soon as possible, but no later than the day after testing. The USB boxes cannot be sent with security personnel. The center supervisor must get a drop-off receipt and send photos of both the shipping label and the drop-off receipt to photos@uexams.com within 24 hours of exam completion. This is the attendance record form that will be emailed to you a few days prior to your assignment. The details of your assignment will be listed on this form, including the location, date, and time. Please note that any report and ending times mentioned before your paperwork were estimates only. You must refer to your attendance record form for your finalized reporting and estimated ending time. The center supervisor will sign each person in upon arrival and out once the exam materials for each testing room are returned. You will sign the bottom of the form where it says Signature of Service Provider, enter the date, and be sure to take your attendance record home with you. You are not required to bring your invoice to the site with you. After the exam is completed and you've brought home your completed attendance record form, complete your invoice and submit both of those forms along with any receipts for reimbursable parking expenses to billing@uexams.com. This email address is in the top right-hand corner of your form. A few tips to make sure you're prepared for exam day. If you'll need them, be sure to bring a lunch, snacks, and bottled drinks, as you will not be able to leave the testing area. Be sure to dress business casual with no distracting colors, print, or jewelry. Flat rubber-soled shoes are best as you will be walking around the exam room. Please leave any valuables at home. Staff cell phones will need to be turned completely off and left at the front of the room with your belongings. And please bring a big dose of patience. Test takers may have a bit of anxiety for this exam as it is incredibly important for their future. If any become rude or argumentative, do your best to not engage, and above all else, you must remain professional. If staff needs further assistance with a test taker, the CS should provide guidance. Please be sure the CS is notified as soon as possible of any test taker complaints or issues so that appropriate action can be taken. You will receive a text message a few days prior to exam day asking you to confirm that you will report to the assignment. It is very important that you respond to that text message as soon as you receive it to avoid additional phone, text, and email attempts to reach you for confirmation. This is the conclusion of the training presentation. As I mentioned earlier, there is a quiz that must be submitted at this time for your training to be considered complete for payment purposes. The link to that quiz is included in your original training email. If you need further clarification on any of the information covered in this training, please reach out to us via phone or email. We look forward to working with you on the upcoming exam administration. Thank you so much for completing this training and for working with us. We truly appreciate your time.